becoming the sixth suspect in custody. Details are still unfolding on how far the terror cell extends, but one thing we do know is that two of the suspects were refugees from the countries of Iraq and Syria. Here with reaction is former Islamic extremist and author of Radical, My Journey Out of Islamist Extremism, Maajid Nawaz. Nice to see you, Maajid.
A pleasure.
What do you make of this?
Well, I think with Islamist recruiters, they are always keen to exploit vulnerabilities. And in this case, clearly refugees were involved. One of those who was arrested in Dover was affiliated to, through work, a chicken shop. And one of the owners of that chicken shop is affiliated to my former Islamist organization, which is the pro-Caliphate Hizb ut-Tahrir. They are not prescribed as a terror organization, but they are certainly one of the first Islamist groups in the world to be advocating for a caliphate.
How many recruiters are circulating through the neighborhoods of London looking for people like this?
We are in the midst of a problem that is worse than people would care to admit. This year alone, there are terror arrests in the UK are up 70% on the
70,
year. 70. 379 arrests have occurred this year, and 19 attacks have been foiled in the UK, and of course there have been 5 successful attacks. When I use the word that we're in the midst of a global jihadist insurgency, these numbers are insurgency levels. When our security services tell us that they're monitoring 3,000 operational jihadists, and they need to be monitoring 23,000, but they don't have the capacity, these are insurgency numbers.
Sure, absolutely. And of course, the worry here in the United States is regarding the refugees, and that's why there have been travel bans and all sorts of things that this administration has tried to do, is that we simply don't know who some of the refugees are if they're from a country like Syria, where it's impossible to really these days validate whether or not their documents, their travel documents, are bona fide.
Well, we have to face some uncomfortable truths here. There were refugees involved in this case. Out of the 379, the vast majority of them have been British citizens. But in this case, there were refugees involved. And I think that if we talk about, evidence-led approaches, then we have to accept the case here that extremist recruiters are targeting any form of vulnerability, and that includes refugees.
Maajid, we had the Vice President of the United States on this program about 45 minutes ago. He was referring to the travel ban and also talked about how a couple of these guys who were picked up in this particular bombing were refugees. Listen to Mike Pence.
We've implemented at the President's